Hello, everyone. I'm Sibyl Starr, astrologer, and I am going to be giving the astrology forecast for the year 2024, at least from my perspective and what's come in through me. And I'm going to be doing it actually in the form of a PowerPoint. It's a very exciting year. I'm calling this year 2024 a quantum paradigm shift because I feel like it is a paradigm shift as we move more fully into an understanding of the quantum field and how it helps us how to create in the quantum field. Okay. All right. Well, let us begin. All right. There we go. The quantum paradigm shift, the astrology of 2024. Welcome to the new year. Right. So this first page is really just about it just lists everything that is happening. Well, not everything, but let's just say some of the more interesting or prominent aspects. So anyway, first off, 2024 is an 8 year, which is associated with Saturn, which is the ruler of Capricorn and the ancient ruler of Aquarius. And the number 8 relates to being accomplished, prosperous, and goal oriented. The Chinese say it is a lucky number. So there is a lot of change and even some upheaval coming, I feel, in this year. But also there is a lot of good fortune. It's like spirits holding us as we move through these changes. So anyway, here's some of the things that are happening. Pluto enters Aquarius on January 20th, retrogrades back into Capricorn, 29 degrees for 2.5 months on September 1st, then returns to Aquarius on November 19th, and where it will stay until the year 2024. So this is a really huge paradigm shift. Pluto and the Sun enter Aquarius at 0 degrees on January 20th, just hours apart. Pluto conjuncts Mercury on February 5th, Mars on February 13th, and on Venus on February 16th. And I will be talking about what all this means. This was just a list if you want to, take a screenshot to have it. Anyway, there's a Venus Mars Pluto conjunction in mid February, actually right around my birthday. So I don't know what that means. Anyway, it's also the year of the dragon, which occurs on the Aquarius new moon on February 9th. Although some people who practice feng shui say that the Chinese New Year starts every year on February 4th. But I've always understood the new year to start on the Aquarian new moon. Okay. Chiron conjuncts the North Node in Aries on February 19th at 16 degrees of Aries. There is a Jupiter-Uranus conjunction at 22 degrees of Taurus on April 20th. Jupiter enters Gemini on May 25th and is trine Pluto on June 2nd. Jupiter in Gemini and Saturn in Pisces square one another in August and December. I think it's August 17th and December 23rd are the exact dates. I'm not sure, but it's those months. And then Mars goes retrograde at 6 degrees of Leo on December 6th. Now, the solar and lunar eclipses on March 25th, we have a South Node lunar eclipse at 5 degrees of Libra. On April 8th, we have a North Node solar eclipse at 19 degrees of Aries. This is a total eclipse and it is visible in the US and it is conjunct Chiron. On September 18th, we have the North Node lunar eclipse at 25 degrees of Pisces. And October 3rd, we have a South Node solar eclipse at 10 degrees of Libra. And the Mercury retrograde times this year is on April 2nd. Excuse me. Yes, April 2nd to the 26th. And it's at Aries, 27 to 15 degrees. August 5th, 29 Virgo. On August 5th to the 29th at Virgo 4 to Leo 21. And November 26th to December 16th at Sagittarius 22 to Sagittarius 6. And I just particularly like this image. It is part of the alchemical, it could be called the tree of life, but it's here on the Ankh. It's a very Egyptian kind of a symbol. I love it that it's got all of the planets, the alchemy of the planets. Okay. All right. So now let's talk about what all of this means. Okay. So the year starts off with Saturn in Pisces at 3 degrees, and it is conjunct two magical fixed stars. We have Fomalhaut at 4 degrees of Pisces. This is a royal star of Persia, and it's the star of Archangel Gabriel. This indicates idealism, a touch of the mystic, a sense of magic. It can bestow charisma, the child stolen by the fairies. They say in the world of Fomalhaut, there are magical gardens, and this is what is known as the stellar home of the unicorns, who carry very powerful creative energy. So if you have any planets around 4 degrees of Pisces, this might be a very prominent energy for you. A second magical star is called Deneb Adage at 5 degrees of Pisces, and it's in the constellation of Cygnus the Swan. It's a very magical star. Some say it is the stellar cradle or the stellar home for the fairies and the elves. It is also known as the shaman star. And the shamans of the Altai Mountains in Siberia are deeply connected to this star. And there are some temples in Egypt as well as the Göbekli Tepe in Turkey that are aligned with Cygnus. We started the year with another powerful aspect, which is Mars. You know, Mars is so much about courage, the warrior. And so Mars was conjunct the galactic center at 27 degrees of Sagittarius to start the year. And I felt like it was a portal to other universes. It was the gate, and some call it the gateway of the gods, the galactic center. The Arcturians say that it is a portal to the great central sun and prime creator, the source of all creation. So it's a very high frequency light pouring in with much data, information, and cellular upgrades. And I feel like the Mars piece tells us that we are moving into uncharted territory, which requires courage to trust our inner guidance. Another star that Mars was conjunct is Eta Min at 28 Sagittarius in the constellation of Draco the Dragon. Eta Min is known as the Eye of the Dragon and is aligned also with the great central sun. Dragons are magical, enlightened beings that are all-knowing and all-seeing, warriors and guardians of the galaxy. And we know that 2024 is the year of the wood dragon. Now, one more thing that I have been finding that I think is really impacting us in a really big way are solar flares, also known as coronal mass explosions. And they say that there is they're predicting an increase in solar flares for the year 2024 and very strong X flares. And they have been happening recently, and they're predicted to happen at different points in the year. But it reminds me of Uranian energy. And astrologically, Uranus is associated with lightning and electricity and those sudden flashes of insight that come in. And sometimes, when lightning comes, everything, it can do a lot of damage, like to trees and different the different things anyway. But it is related to the divine mind, which is about ideas or downloads coming out of the blue, something you did not understand and now you do. It's also bringing cellular upgrades to hold the increased light that is coming in, so that the lightning or the solar flares don't destroy it. Because, like I said, if we can't hold the light, it can cause damage. And so what is also happening, and I really discovered this myself, is that it is causing physical and emotional symptoms. You may feel exhausted, depressed, or irritable when there is a solar flare happening. And I just want to share that I've experienced this recently myself, where I was feeling very exhausted, depressed, and irritable. And I discovered that on those days that there was solar flares, and it was like it would come on suddenly, and then the next day it would be gone. And so to just be aware of that. And I just want to talk just a little bit more about the physical symptoms. Each peak corresponds to a higher incidence of anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, and other emotional disorders. The electromagnetic activity of the sun affects our electronic devices and the human electromagnetic field. And on one of those days on a solar flare, I believe some country lost some of their power. Anyway, thus we are physically, mentally, and emotionally altered by the electromagnetic charges of the sun. And it can also uh, create symptoms of a very short duration of headaches, palpitations, mood swings, fatigue, and general malaise. And also, these can activate our pineal gland, which causes the production of excess melatonin, a hormone that causes drowsiness. And I certainly experienced those recently. All right. So now I'm going to talk about what I think are some of the really important astrological events. And the first one is Pluto in Aquarius. I think this is really a paradigm shifting kind of an energy. Pluto is the god of death, and it's meeting Aquarius, which is Pluto is the god of death and rebirth, meets the sign of revolution. Now, Pluto has what is called an elliptical orbit. It doesn't make a circle, it makes more like an oval. So it is in some years longer than others. And so it's going to be in Aquarius for 20 years from 2023, 24 to 2044. Okay, as I talked about, except for those few months from September through mid-November. Then it's going to be in Aquarius fully until 2044. So the last transit of Pluto in Aquarius was in 1777 and 1798. And in the last 30 years, all of the outer planets have transited Aquarius and now Pluto. We've had Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, and now it's Pluto's turn. And I feel like it is accelerating our movement more fully into the age of Aquarius. And as I said, it enters Aquarius on January 20th. And over the next year, it will travel from 0 to 2 degrees of Aquarius. The ruler of Aquarius is Uranus, and it was discovered in Leo in 1781 with transiting Pluto in Aquarius. And I feel like Uranus in Leo is about the awakening of our own inner light. And during this time, we had the American Revolution and the French Revolution, and it was a huge paradigm shift where the power of the people, we discovered that the discovery of Uranus actually and Pluto in Aquarius at the same time, that we discovered the power of the people, that we all have rights, not just the powerful. It was a change in system, and all through Europe and really all over the world, for the most part, the monarchies fell. Now, if a few remained, but it was no longer the divine right of kings. And even if the monarchies didn't fall, they lost a lot of their power. So once again, there is a history of upheaval when Uranus and Pluto meet. Okay. And like I said, Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius. So they can meet as planets like they did in the 1960s, where they met in Virgo. Uranus and Pluto were in Virgo, and they had a conjunction in the 1960s when there was this really big upheaval. Or they can meet with Pluto in Aquarius, which that's when the American Revolution culminated, and the French Revolution happened from 1789 to 1799. And their rallying cry was very Aquarian: freedom, equality, and fraternity. But it also turned dark. And of course, here is a very famous image of the French Revolution. Okay. So the systems fell, but things got really ugly. Okay. So we can expect much upheaval in the years to come. Political, social, financial, medical, corporate, government. Pluto in Aquarius is a systems buster. Okay. And I just wanted to quote Leslie Shankman is a book I'm reading. And she says, a Pluto wave is never afraid to crush walls, systemic structures, objects of power, and sterile technocratic coercive forces that in our current time have been consolidated in the prior 2.5 centuries. So on one hand, we've had Pluto transiting through Capricorn since, when was that? Anyway, 2008, I believe, something like that. And so the corruption of our institutions, let's put it this way, the bones that hold up our civilization. And now Pluto is coming in to show us the systems that underlie these institutions, okay? The technocratic, bureaucratic systems that actually hold these power structures in place. All right. Natal Pluto in the chart of the United States is in Capricorn at 27:32 minutes. But by the precession of the equinoxes, that placement is now at approximately Aquarius 1°15. By the precession of the equinoxes, it's actually how we measure our relationship to places in the sky. It moves 1 degree every 72 years. And it's a reset, a restructuring of the systems that underlie our civilization. It is a paradigm shift that can leave chaos in its wake. So fasten your seatbelts. We may be in for a bumpy ride. All right. Now, what is Pluto, or who is Pluto? Okay. All right. So Pluto, of course, is and Pluto is, well, Pluto has been demoted from a planet by our astronomy community, but astrologers know that Pluto is still very present and has a huge impact. It may be small, but actually it pulls, they say Pluto's orbit is so intense and so strong that it pulls other planets out of their orbit, such as Neptune. All right. Anyway, Pluto, as we talked about, being, the god of death and rebirth, Pluto Hades in Greco-Roman mythology, and in Egyptian mythology, Pluto could be related to Osiris, regeneration. Anyway, when Pluto comes along, Pluto's about evolution. He pushes us to grow. He says, evolve or die. Pluto is about transformation, regeneration, death, and rebirth, and could be compared to compost, how all of the old, dead, stagnant material is turned into something that can fertilize the soil and then grow new life. Pluto is a purification process. I say that I would compare Pluto to like being the roto-rooter of the zodiac. And you can think of, like, say you have a drain that's clogged, like, well, Pluto is the one that comes in and moves that clog, okay? So that everything can run free and smooth again. It cleans everything up. Pluto is the alchemist. He transmutes and transforms lead into gold. The lead in of our ego into the gold of our soul and the deepest truth of who we are. Okay. And how he does this as well is through radical forgiveness of self and other. It's reminding us that we just don't need this old stuff that we've been carrying around. And with Pluto, you got to feel it to heal it. He requires emotional depth and intensity. When Pluto comes along and you're having a transit, you got to feel it. There's something in your heart you're holding on to, you got to let go of. It's opening to love. And it can kind of feel painful at first because it makes you feel what's in your heart. But ultimately, Pluto brings self-empowerment. And so Pluto in Aquarius, we have seen the revolution of the past, but I feel like we are at a different place now. It's very much about the revolution of consciousness. And Pluto reminds us it's always an inside job. That light comes from the inside. You cannot ask the darkness to leave. You must turn on the light. And I like this image here of this person. This is the storm, but he's got the light inside of himself lighting the way. And this is what I believe Pluto is so much about. Pluto transforms collective consciousness, and that's how we change our world. Each one of us doing our own work, then we come together with our increased frequency and we change the world. I have been shown by the Arcturians and others that the we are like functioning, or the analogy has been used that we are functioning on like a 110 voltage, but there is a 220 voltage coming in, like with the solar flares and the different things that are happening. They're bringing the light and higher frequencies are coming in, but we must have a transformer or a converter, just like the lightning. We must have a transformer or a converter um, to be able to hold the new voltage, the 220 voltage that is coming in, so that we can hold it and anchor it into ourselves and Mother Earth. And to remember, as our frequency changes, a new world emerges. They say the new world is going to emerge through our hearts, not through our minds, but through our hearts. But a lot of this light that is pouring in right now is new data and information to help us be able to change our world. Okay. But to understand, like I said, it's always an inside job. And forgiveness is the transformer. Forgiveness is the transformer of Pluto, letting the old stuff go, those old grudges, those old things we're carrying around. Pluto is the alchemist of love, which reducing everything to love, for love is the basic vibration of the universe. It is remembering our own divinity, that we are love, okay? And to be your own unique self. No one else carries the gift and the mission that is yours. But I also believe that there will be, Aquarius represents the masses, and Pluto, of course, represents death. So there is definitely the possibility of mass death of people crossing over to help us from the other side. But to know that there are many guides here to help souls cross over. All right. Now, when Pluto is going to be conjunct the star Altair at 2 degrees of Aquarius in the constellation of Aquila, the eagle. And I love this image here, okay, because we're going to be encountering eagle medicine. And so one of the meanings to me is this is bringing in visionary leadership and courage, and leaders in the revolution of consciousness, those who have come here to be, and those who are being tapped may not have been leaders before, but they have been working all their lives to be prepared for this moment in time. But they will be tapped. Okay. And eagle medicine is just very strong over the next years. And I found this beautiful quote that was actually a prayer. May you soar high above all worldly concerns and make peace with spirit. The eagle reminds us that we have a direct line to Creator and can communicate our wants, needs, and struggles, and most importantly, our gratitude and praises. Anything is possible in this life when you walk with Spirit. May you embrace divine love and purpose. And so it is. All right. And I have also during this time come in, it came in through a dream, a connection with a white eagle, the ascended master white eagle. Actually, a white eagle came into my dream and told me he was going to be my guide and teacher for the next several years. And at the same time, I discovered white eagle, the ascended master, and he is known as the peacemaker. And his teachings are very much about that we must be at peace with ourselves to have peace in the world and to connect with that stillness within. And I'm hearing that White Eagle is actually very strong in the field for many others as well right now. And he's got a whole teaching school, a lodge. All right. And he's actually one of the ascended masters that the Arcturians work with during this time of the great shift here on Mother Earth. And then the last thing is I wanted to talk about is in many native traditions, eagle is the messenger of great spirit. And like to know that we have this direct line to creator. And if eagle shows up, that, great spirit is trying to contact you. And there have been transmissions from the actual star Altair. I've read recently that NASA, I didn't read that they contacted them back, but or that they knew what the transmissions were about, but that the star Altair was sending transmissions to us. Okay. So once again, it's the great spirit contacting us. So if you have planets or angles at 0 to 2 degrees of Aquarius, that would be a conjunction. If you have planets in the early degrees of the fixed signs, Taurus, Scorpio, and Leo, you would either have an opposition or a square, opposition with Leo, square with Taurus and Scorpio. And in the early degrees of air signs, Gemini and Libra, you'll have a trine, and a trine's an easy flow. A conjunction is very much about empowerment, about power. The squares and the oppositions are challenges. It's like it's the same energy, but it's the difficulty or ease of integration. All right. And so it feels to me, Pluto energy also feels very much like the journey of the butterfly to the caterpillar, the metamorphosis. That when you're having these transits, you may have a dark night of the soul while in that chrysalis, but will return completely changed, like the caterpillar who becomes the butterfly, your true self. And it's very much about self-empowerment and healing due to shadow work. Okay. All right. And I did want to say too, the really big conjunction of Pluto, Venus, and Mars is right around Valentine's Day. So it could be super powerful and sexy Valentine's Day. All right. All right. Some of the other things going on here. One is open contact. I feel like with Pluto moving into Aquarius, open contact is just with the star nations is really going to increase and unfold in very unexpected and beautiful ways. Anyway, we do know that the star nations have been in contact with our governments, and they're actually starting to talk a lot about different UFOs. And I would actually take some of the things the government says with a grain of salt. On one hand, I know it's happening. On the other hand, it'll be interesting to see how the government uses that information. Some say that, or some believe that this may be the next kind of like invisible war. It'll be hard to know anyway, but to know that actually the star nations are contacting many more of us now directly, but to be able to have that direction is or those interactions, it's important that we elevate our frequency because many of the star nations find it very difficult to come into a third dimensional reality, whereas they can meet us in a more fourth dimensional reality, because that's where the fairies and the elves and many of those kinds of beings also exist in a fourth and fifth dimensional reality. And my understanding is that, fifth dimensional reality is when we're living from the heart. And so that is when we can also make contact. All right. All right. And of course, we have our relationship to technology. Technology can be used for good or ill. It's what we call amoral. It's not good or bad. It's the intention behind it and those that are using it. And Bashar says that AI actually reflects our state of consciousness. It is our creation and how we choose to use it. That it is a state of consciousness, but it mirrors how we're using it, mirrors our state of consciousness. And the Arcturians say that every civilization comes to a place in the development of their technology where they will use it to advance their own spiritual growth or to destroy themselves. And here they're actually referring to different civilizations in the Milky Way galaxy. You know, they said there's like 5,000 different civilizations, or let's put it this way, 5,000 habitable planets. And some of them, you know, have civilizations, and some have used their technology for their own spiritual growth and the acceleration of their spirituality, but some have destroyed themselves. And I believe we also have it in our history that we have destroyed ourselves. We didn't destroy the planet, but we destroyed ourselves. The Arcturians also say they will not allow our technology to destroy Mother Earth, that they are here to protect Mother Earth. But the truth is our collective consciousness is what determines what happens of how we use AI. The shadow of AI, I'm going to quote Leslie Shankman here once again. She says, this creates the unprecedented presence of artificial intelligence and virtual realities that permeate our lives at every level. This is especially threatening if these digital technologies continue to be used by controlling forces that seek to dominate human consciousness. So yeah, so it is those who have access to AI and how they are using it, and they are using it for surveillance and for mind control. Okay, but it doesn't have to be that way. It can be used in different ways. And of course, the impact of technology on our health and Mother Earth. Some of the frequencies, such as 5G, are having a negative impact not only on our health, but on Mother Earth, because they're very low. 5G is a very low vibrational frequency. Okay. And, you know, there are ideas too about blocking the light of the sun, which would be deadly to all life here. Everything in our solar system is composed of photons of light from the sun. And so life would cease to exist if we started blocking the sun. And of course, the personal shadow is increased detachment and alienation. Virtual reality may become more real than reality. There are many other shadows. And as the year goes on, I'll be talking a lot more about Pluto in Aquarius. We'll kind of see what shows up and how it shows up. All right. All right. Okay. And so here we are, the year of the dragon, or in the year of the dragon. The Chinese New Year is on February 9th, 2024. And the Chinese year of the wood dragon, according to the Chinese zodiac, the dragon is the most powerful and auspicious of animals. It represents strength, luck, and prosperity. The wood dragon is the most creative and visionary of the dragons. Wood dragons like to explore new ideas and challenge themselves. They are generous, compassionate, and loyal friends. Okay. And in Korea, this is the year of the blue dragon, which is bringing in generosity and kindness. The year of the dragon in 2024 is expected to be a time of visionary leaders, innovators, and problem solvers. Sounds very much like the activation of Altair by Pluto. Okay, the eagle. So the star nation of the dragons are all-knowing, all-seeing, enlightened beings that carry ancient wisdom. They come from another universe, but their stellar home in the Milky Way is the Draco constellation, but also exist in other constellations as well. Dragons are warriors who uphold divine order. They're guardians of the galaxy. Dragons are showing up in our field of consciousness as we are in this ascension process. There are so many people now that are dragons are showing up in their field. And I feel like as being guardians and protectors, they're protecting us as we are moving into this ascension process. Okay. Now, if you want to know more about the dragons, I'm going to be doing a video just completely on the dragons and the star nation of Draco in the month of February. So getting ready for the year of the dragon. Now, and of course, here's a beautiful dragon over here, and here is the Chinese blue dragon. All right. So in astrology, we have dragons, and that is the the nodes of the moon. In Vedic astrology, they're known as the head of the dragon is the north node, the way forward, and the tail of the dragon is the south node. And so the north node right now is in Aries. So the way forward is in Aries. And of course, the dragon is a warrior protector. So it's very strong here. So the warrior protector requires a sovereignty of self. It's a pioneer whose journey requires courage to face fear, to explore unknown territory in inner and outer worlds. Okay. The south node, which is the tail of the dragon, is the past, which carries our karma as well as gifts, and it is in Libra, the sign of balance and inner peace. But sometimes this peace comes at a cost if we cannot be ourselves. And the key is balance and integration of both signs of the energy and the integration of polarity within ourselves to release the us versus them mentality. Chiron in Aries is conjunct the North Node. Oh, excuse me. Yes, is conjunct the North Node on February 19th. And so it's around healing wounds, around self-sovereignty and self-determination, but coming from a place of inner calm, not anger. You know, Aries is also very much about boundaries, where we say no. And that has to also do with self-sovereignty and self-determination. And the North Node solar eclipse, which is a total eclipse at Aries 19 degrees on April 8th, is tightly conjunct Chiron. And of course, I'll be doing a whole video about that as we get closer to that happening. Okay. All right. So here we are. We're talking here about the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction that is on April 20th at 22 degrees of Taurus. And so Taurus is the sign most connected to Mother Earth. It is grounded, practical, calm, very much about inner serenity. It's like being rooted like the tree in the storm. And Jupiter in Taurus brings blessings, abundance, good fortune, and prosperity of the gifts of Mother Earth. Opens doors of opportunity, but also closes doors. So it's really important in a big Jupiter event to go through the doors that open, and often to go through the doors that open, another door needs to close. Okay. And Jupiter expands everything it touches. Uranus in Taurus brings downloads from Mother Earth, as from the divine mind, as Mother Gaia. It brings unpredictability, storms, lightning, sudden change, and very much weather instability with Uranus and Taurus. And some possible ways that Jupiter and Uranus conjunction can manifest. But it's always, what I want to say is, I'm going to give the basic energy that I can see, but how it's actually going to manifest may often come as a surprise. Okay. Because Uranus isn't completely unpredictable. So it can bring unexpected good fortune in the house where this conjunction falls, or in relation to any planets that it aspects. For example, the seventh house could bring good fortune coming from friends. In the eighth house, it could bring an unexpected inheritance, you know, and so on and so on. In the 10th house, it could be unexpected good fortune in your career or mission or calling in life. Okay. Sudden messages or downloads from Mother Earth, or her fairies, elves, mermaids, dragons, all magical beings. Uranus and Taurus is very much about the magical beings of Mother Earth. They may become visible, so spending time in nature during this event might bring some surprises and some real insights. New pathways of consciousness are activated with the increased light and create new realities, new options, and new ways of living and being. It's about reconnecting to higher consciousness through form. It's an embodied spirituality. Uranus rules the nervous system in our bodies, which are highways of light, which bringing data, information, and an upgrade. Uranus also rules the electrical and energy pathways in our body. So an activation of the Kundalini could also happen as well as other things. All right. Jupiter, of course, always brings in the attitude of gratitude, and Uranus is one of the planets of consciousness. And so, it's certainly been my experience in life that just saying thank you is often enough to shift my consciousness. If I'm kind of down, if I can see the blessings in my life and say thank you, it is automatically uplifting. We can find unusual twists and turns in your path and unexpected doors opening. Go through them. The universe is leaving breadcrumbs and synchronicities abound. You might find a lot of breadcrumbs and follow those breadcrumbs. Okay. Need to be free to express yourself authentically, and the doors will open magically in ways that have been closed before. Okay. And more like-minded souls might show up too in your field. Very important to stay grounded and centered within yourself and Mother Earth to weather the storm and recharge your energy field. I love this image right here, free charging station. And she's here being charged up by this tree. Okay, the connection with the tree. All right. Much turbulence and chaos as the old structures cannot hold the light frequencies that are pouring in. As the new comes in, the old crumbles. You know, as they say, we're building the new in the shell of the old. Unstable weather patterns as Mother Earth attempts to rebalance herself. Dramatic changes in our economic and financial areas. You know, they're talking about this CBDC, the central bank digital currency system, and how that might impact us. And Taurus is also very much about food. So it's seeing more fake food on the markets created in labs, what we call Frankenfood. You know, Italy has banned fake meat. All right. So, all right. Now, the next astrological happening we're going to talk about is Jupiter. Jupiter will be moving into Gemini. Jupiter will be in Taurus until May 25th when it moves into a new sign of Gemini, and will be there until June 9th, 2025. So Jupiter, you know, like we talked about, Jupiter opens doors, creates opportunity. And Gemini is very much about change and adaptability and exploring new ideas and information. With Jupiter and Gemini, we could have a thirst for knowledge, increased curiosity, and Jupiter asks us to expand our mind to what could be possible. The shadow, though, is to be overextended mentally and physically and feeling overwhelmed. You know, Jupiter expands everything that it touches, and Gemini is known for multitasking. And one of the shadows of Gemini is chronic busyness, just being busy, 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 because when you're so busy, you can't feel. Okay. And you need to be able to feel during this time. All right. Jupiter is trine Pluto. I believe that date was in early June. And so this can and it'll be in the early degrees of Gemini and Aquarius. It can dramatically increase your power and influence, can use this power to positively transform your life and have an impact in the world. It can bring in some very powerful, innovative ideas. But I think one of the main things is to recognize the magic and power of our words in the quantum field. We know that words create. Words have more power, so be really careful with them to see what you are creating. All right. Well, words and thoughts, both. All right, we're going to talk a little bit now about Saturn in Pisces. It's traveling from 3 to 20 degrees of Pisces in 2024. And one of the first things that pops up, of course, Saturn is the Lord of karma. And Pisces rules the waters of the world. I mean, there's 3 water signs, and Pisces is very much related to the ocean and to all the different waters. Okay. And it's also the collective unconscious, which is what's called the Great Cosmic Sea. And so, but first off, let's just talk about water. Water as a focus, taking care of the water, and of course, praying in the water. That's another really important thing. We know that water has memory, and to stand in the water and say your prayers can be very powerful. But on a physical level, structured water, spring water, well water, water that has not been denatured by chemicals, has a much different, is much different in our cells and our bodies than water that has been. It's more of like a gel or plasma like substance rather than the complete liquid that water is. And so it's really important to remember this. And they say that there's technology that has the ability to restructure water if you don't have access to spring water or um, well water, that there are technologies that are showing up now that can restructure the water. On another physical level, Neptune and Pisces rules the lymphatic system, which is involved in the immune system, and Saturn can indicate blockages. The lymphatic system is related to water, joy, and unity consciousness, whereas Saturn brings in separation and limitation and fear. Saturn brings up limitation and fear. And so the lymphatic system is very connected to our emotions, to our heart. So the emotion of fear can impact our immune system. They say the lymphatic system has heart-shaped crystals, which help remove and transmute toxins related to emotional and karmic imprinting. Our immune system has been under attack physically and psychically. So it's really important to take care of it with Saturn in Pisces. It's kind of bringing it to our attention. So it's so important to drink water, exercise, use a sauna, acupuncture, lymph massage, eating fruits, and dry brushing the skin are all things that help our immune system. And of course, to me, it's also about spiritual discipline. Saturn in Pisces. Um, it's about having a daily practice to stay centered and connected to the stillness within, and to realize it is the truth. Truth resides within yourself, for that is where the guidance will come. I'm really seeing a more spiritually based consensus reality happening now. Of course, Saturn rules consensus reality, and I feel like moving through Pisces is really elevating our consensus reality. Although there are some that it's not, but many more people are being impacted. The shadow can be reality based, more in illusion and fantasy. Once again, a virtual reality. Okay, and here, of course, is Jupiter. And I like this image of Saturn. It's kind of a magical image of Saturn. All right. Okay, so what is the big event that is happening between Jupiter and Saturn is a square, and they're going to be dancing together for quite a while. They're dancing together until the end of this year. It starts around August 19th at 17 Gemini. They meet at 17 Gemini in a square, and then later again on December 23rd. So they kind of go in and out of aspect, but I would just say the aspect is there till the end of the year. And Jupiter brings expansion and hope, while Saturn shows us our limitations, which can bring up fear. Together, they bring manifestation, but as the square brings challenges. So it indicates that adjustments, if you have this activated in your chart, but actually it's just generally for the whole world, but if it's in your chart, it's going to be a lot stronger. Adjustments may be necessary in your professional or personal life. May need to tighten your belt financially during this time, especially if this aspect impacts you, but to also trust the process. The thing about Saturn events, you can feel them really strongly when they're happening, but once they're over, they're really just gone. You don't really feel them anymore, okay? Tensions and doubts may arise, so take your time before making decisions. Jupiter and Gemini is going to want to just jump right in with a decision, but Saturn says slow down, hold on. Plan, but be also open to following the energy. You need to be adaptable. Pisces and Gemini are both mutable signs, which indicates adaptability is important and to follow the energy. A critical moment in your profession may require facing restrictions and considering new opportunities. Often Saturn comes in to show you where you're out of alignment, like where things aren't working. But then Jupiter will open doors, opening new possibilities that you may not even have thought of before. Okay. Release old limiting beliefs. As the consensus reality changes, so does the field of possibilities. We are in a field of infinite possibility. The only thing that is impossible is what we believe is impossible. We are in the process of changing our consensus reality. Okay. So I love this image here. You know, the sky isn't the limit, your belief system is. Okay. As we move on, as we move into a deeper understanding of the quantum field, we begin to really understand that thought creates, and to be aware of where you focus your energy, for that is what will manifest. You know, as they say, worry is a prayer for creating something you don't want. Okay. So to really open up to the possibility of, you know, what could go right. All right. It's elevate your thoughts. If you find yourself going down a rabbit hole, look up. We must learn to trust the inner guidance, in our inner guidance in these turbulent times of change, and to know that reality is actually centered in our own psyche, not in the external world. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind your thoughts. You must still the mind to be able to hear the truth of your heart. This aspect can bring about a crisis of faith if we hold on to old belief systems that only believe the information in the external world, because the truth is coming into our internal world. Jupiter is conjunct Rigel, the star Rigel, at 17 degrees of Gemini, the brightest star in the constellation of Orion. It is known to have the energy of an educator as well as one of the dragon stars. It carries the energy of martial arts, the one who knows how to move with the energy to create an advantage for oneself. And I love this last quote. Stop being afraid of what can go wrong and start being excited about what can go right. All right. Okay. And I like this little image here of Pisces. Okay. All right. All right. So Neptune, our last planet here. So Neptune is traveling in Pisces from 24 to 29 degrees. Neptune entered Pisces on February 3rd in 2012 and will be there until sometime in 2025. Okay, and it'll move back into it'll move for a few months into Aries in 2025 and then back into Pisces. And anyway, so it's kind of moving around a bit. So Neptune is often referred to as the planet of dreams and illusions and intuition. Neptune's influence extends beyond the mundane, touching the very core of our spiritual selves. It is known as the divine heart and is the place where we lose our ego self and merge back into the one. The spiritual impact is enhanced intuition, spiritual growth, and a deeper connection with the universe, and the development of our inner GPS. And it's not just the development, it's the ability to trust our inner GPS. Okay. Right. And the creative impact, surge in artistic endeavors and increased imagination. The shadow of Neptune is also, Neptune is much stronger in its own sign. And like I said, it's been traveling here since February 3rd, 2012. The shadow of Neptune is also stronger in its own sign. It brings a fog or a mist of illusion, delusion, escapism, and believing what you want to believe, and spiritual bypass. Neptune is traveling to 29 degrees this year, which is called the anaretic degree, the last chance saloon. If the work has not been done, it forces it, it pushes it to the absolute limit. It's the master teachings when it gets to the 29 degrees. And, you know, it's important to remember that we still have one foot in the age of Pisces, which is about Christ consciousness. And of course, the other foot is in the age of Aquarius, is where we're going. But Jesus is the avatar for the age of Pisces, who came to help us remember our own divinity, the divine spark within each of us, and to remember that the universe is made of love, Fear exists only in a 3D reality. It doesn't exist in the higher frequencies. And as we transmute fear to love, we free ourselves from the 3D matrix and accelerate the ascension process. And I really love this image that we are stars wrapped in skin. The light you are seeking has always been within, from Rumi. And this is what is being activated right now, this light within, and the remembrance of who we are. The shadow, of course, is the world of illusion coming to a crisis. What illusions are you attached to? Neptune is going to be in a square to the supergalactic center at 27 degrees of Sagittarius all year as it travels from 24 to 29 degrees. So all this year, the light from the galactic center will be pouring in to lift the veil of illusion, which can be painful. We will be able to see what is true, like the Wizard of Oz pulling back the curtain. I love this image when they see the truth. And so we will be able to see what is true in our world. And the most important lifting of the veil of illusion is that we are separate from source, the truth of our own divinity, which allows us to trust the process that is unfolding. As the light intensifies, it burns out everything that is not love and helps us align with our spiritual truth, our mission here on earth, basically the truth of who we are. Okay. All right. Okay. And so the light of the new world, the ascension process of moving into a fifth dimensional reality is accelerating this year, and it will get even stronger in 2025 and 2026. The Kogi have a prophecy. They're saying that the shift is going to happen in 2026. And I'm just saying the astrology absolutely lines up, but we do have some challenges in between. The old structures that cannot hold the light that is flowing in on the frequency and love. It can also be challenging for our bodies to hold and anchor the light, and yet that is what we're being asked to do. Our solar system is now traveling in the photon belt in an area very close to the Pleiades. With this increased light, we are being aided by the universe for our awakening, but it is always an inside job based on our choices. It is said that we are in a cycle of 11,000 years of forgetting and then 2,000 years of remembering who we are, which happens in the age of Aquarius and the age of Leo. We are there now, beginning to remember who we are as beings of light. We are in a quantum paradigm shift. And I'm going to close with this teaching from White Eagle, and it's called Service of the Light. You ask us, White Eagle, what can we do to help humankind? And we answer, by daily, hourly, every moment of your life, endeavoring to realize your true self, which lies buried in your innermost being. It will rise in you like a stream of light on which you will be able to rise to a higher level of consciousness where you will find yourself enveloped in the power and love of God. Practice this daily realization of the great white light within your own being and project it forth into the outer world. Then, my friends, the mists around the world will gradually be dispelled. Do not look to others to do the work for you. Everyone is their own savior and the savior of all mankind. Ascended Master White Eagle. So this is what I see for the coming year. Of course, I'll continue to be doing videos at different times. I'm no longer doing the Moon Day morning astrology. I'm just going to be doing the new and full moon videos and then some other videos in between. But anyway, I think it's going to be a wonderful year. It's full of excitement as well as challenges because we really are in the midst of a paradigm shift, and how to hold these increased frequencies that are coming in and remembering it's still always an inside job based on the choices we make. All right, wishing everyone a wonderful year and namaste to all.